We're not talking about the physical sun. We're not talking about the house of your horoscope being there on that piece of paper. We're talking about energy, and we're talking about impact of that energy upon you from the higher dimensions. And this is the way that the planets function in our lives, is that they are outside of time and space. They are everywhere at once. And that's hard for us to conceptualize. And it's hard for us to understand how the liver works, for example. All of the functions of the liver and the functions of the lungs, and how the lungs take the oxygen out of the air and put it into the bloodstream. How would you like to be doing that in your intelligence? How would you like to have the task of doing that? You couldn't keep up with it. Look at all the cells that they're working with, and all of the tiny little atomic structures that they're working with in those capillaries of the blood and so forth. So you can't possibly understand how that functions because it's unconscious. Well, what I'm trying to say to you is this, is that the planets all have impact in your life on unconscious levels that you can't comprehend and you can't relate to. So it's no good us trying to relate to how these planets function in our horoscope and how they function in our lives. All we can do is look at what reflexive impact do they have upon our cosmic physical body, which is our mental body, our lower mental body, and our emotional body, and our etheric stroke physical body. So now that I've explained that, now I can get down into explaining to you the way that these planets work. So at the time of your first breath, there's the point on the eastern horizon. I've covered that. We've now got the 12 houses of your horoscope. We've got the signs around the perimeter of the horoscope, and 12 different signs on the cusp of each of your houses. So we have the stages set there in that horoscope for your life experiences. Now also at the time that you took your first breath, the planets were all in a particular location by degree and sign in the horoscope, in the zodiac. And so we plonked them into your horoscope, in the diagram of the horoscope, in the conceptualization of the horoscope, in that round circle. And there are your planets sitting in a degree in the zodiac, but also sitting in the houses of your horoscope. Now, what impact do these planets have from their massive state of cosmic mental consciousness? What impact do they have upon us here, us little microbes, what you might say, us little babies of the universe? Well, just very briefly, I'll cover the sun, for example. The sun is your overall personality, and it focuses your personality upon that particular arena of your horoscope, that particular arena of your life for this particular incarnation. So if the sun is in the first house, you'll have a sunny disposition, and you'll have a strong will to create and start projects. If the sun is in the second house of finances, it will focus your attention upon your finances and your creation of security for you and your loved ones. If the sun is in the third house of your horoscope, your relatives and neighbours will become a focal point of your consciousness in that life. And the sun will focus your attention also upon communications and maybe doing some writing and things like that. If the sun is in the fourth house, then the home environment and the family are going to be very important to you. One of your parents will have will feature particularly in your life. The latter part of your life, the fourth house is the latter part of your life, will come to the fore. The fifth house, if the sun is in the fifth house, then your children will rise to the heights of success. and you will be focused upon your children and their interests in life. You'll be focused upon sports and entertainments and amusements. If the sun is in the 6th house of your horoscope, you'll be focused upon the job. You'll be focused upon health and dietary matters in this particular incarnation. If the sun is in the 7th house, then that becomes a focal point of your consciousness, and your spouse or partner will become very, very important to you in this incarnation. You'll have a lot of dealings with the general public, perhaps be involved in the legal profession in some way. If the sun is in the 8th house of your horoscope, you'll be very intense and introspective and reflective, and you'll have a tremendous urge to transform yourself into new horizons and to make adjustments and changes within yourself through introspection and reflection. If the sun is in the 9th house of your horoscope, higher adult education will be important to you. Foreign travel will be important to you. You'll perhaps be involved in writing and teaching and metaphysics and higher learning and adult education. If the sun is in the 10th house of your horoscope, you'll rise to the heights of success through business and career. You'll perhaps have a lot of dealings with government departments. If the sun is in the 11th house of your horoscope, you'll have a lot of involvement with friends, club activities, group social functions. Other people's children will be important to you, grandchildren and so forth. If the sun is in the 12th house of your horoscope, well, you've had it. Just joking there. If the sun is in the 12th house of your horoscope, you'll be very much in love with solitude, and spirituality will be important to you, and you'll be very introspective and reflective, but wanting to make changes within yourself. Early in life, perhaps, you'll make those changes through self-punishment and self-pity and pain and crisis. But later on in life, you'll gravitate more and more towards the spiritual side of life. Now, the moon rules your emotions and the family and the domestic side of life. If the moon is in the 1st house of your horoscope, then you will be a very emotional person, very family oriented. If the moon is in your 2nd house of your horoscope, then you'll be focused emotionally upon the financial side of things and creating security for you and your loved ones. If the moon is in the 3rd house of your horoscope, your home will be full of relatives and neighbours all the time. You'll have many changing and fluctuating ideas about things. You'll work more in communication from an emotional point of view and the expression of your desire and your passion. If the moon is in the 4th house of your horoscope, you'll be highly emotional with regard to your family connection and your family commitments. The home environment will be a very important part of your life emotionally. If the moon is in the 5th house of your horoscope, you'll enjoy a lot of social activities around the home. You'll have a large family perhaps. Children will be important to you. Entertainments and amusements will be important to you emotionally. If the moon is in the 6th house of your horoscope, then you'll be very emotional about the job. You'll perhaps work from home. You'll have dealings with children in your job. You'll have a lot of emotion connected with your health and dietary matters. If the moon is in the 7th house of your horoscope, you'll have a great deal of affection emotionally for your spouse and your partner. And there'll be a real combination of family energies there together with your spouse. If the moon is in the 8th house of your horoscope, your sexuality will have a lot of emotion and a lot of imagination connected with it. And you'll be very, very introspective and reflective upon things about the family and the children and the domestic side of life. If the moon is in the ninth house of your horoscope, you'll perhaps live distantly from the place of your birth in a foreign land. You'll be very emotional about religious matters and spiritual matters. Higher learning and education. You'll perhaps be a teacher of children. The moon in the 10th house, you'll run some sort of a business from home perhaps. You'll be very, very emotional about your highest goals and ambitions in life. If the moon is in the 11th house of your horoscope, your home will be crowded with friends, other people's children all the time. You'll be very emotional about your connection with your friends and your club activities and group social functions and social activities to do with social welfare and stuff like that. If the moon is in the 12th house of your horoscope, then you'll have a strong connection to the spiritual side of life. Emotionally, you'll have a very vivid imagination and you'll be very creative about ways of bringing about spiritual growth and change within yourself. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea with the example of the sun and the moon about how these planets function there in the houses of the horoscope. And I'll just quickly go through one more. Venus rules your love nature. And Venus in the 1st house, you'll be a very attractive person, very outgoing in your affections. Venus in the 2nd house, you'll be blessed financially and make a lot of money. Venus in the 3rd house, you'll have a lot of social activities involving relatives and neighbours. And you'll have a love of your motor vehicle. Venus in the 4th house, the home environment will be a very loving place and you'll have artistic things around the place. Venus in the 5th house, you'll have a love of your children. You'll have very attractive children. You'll really enjoy the social side of life and you could run a restaurant or place of amusement. Venus in the 6th house, you'll have dealings with the general public in your job. You'll work with women's fashions, clothing, jewellery, cosmetics or artistic things, musical things in your job. Venus in the 7th house, you'll be blessed in marriage and you'll have a love of the general public. You'll like going out and mixing with the general public in large shopping centres and so forth. Venus in the 8th house, there'll be a great deal of love for the occult and hidden side of life, and there'll be a blessing for your joint finances with your spouse. Venus in the 9th house will see you having a love of travel, foreign travel, and a great deal of love for in-laws. Venus in the 10th house will give you a great deal of love for the career and your ambitions and probably take you into business in some way in dealings with women's fashions and so forth. And a great deal of love for one of your parents. Venus in the 11th house, a great deal of love for other people's children, a great deal of love for your friends. And Venus in the 12th house, secret romantic attachments and affairs. And a great deal of love later on in life for the spiritual side of things and for those who are suffering in hospitals and institutions. So that's about as much as I can cram into these 2 videos for you anyway. And now I'm going to go into another video for you about the planets in aspect with each other. And that's a very important part as well. So get your horoscope done if you haven't had it done by me so far. I'll do it free of charge and you can learn where your planets are in these houses and how they impact upon you. And so I invite you to join in and watch all my videos and get into my intensives and become more of who you really are, because God and Goddess love you and they know your name and they want you to grow and reach and stretch and become more of the giant that you truly are. We can't understand these higher levels of consciousness. We can't understand how these planets function. We can't understand how these solar systems function. We're just like the child who we're trying to teach trigonometry and calculus and quadratic equations. We can't get it together. We're only babies. So I thank you for your attentiveness here and I look forward to working with you further in future videos. Thank you.